Welcome to this week's Shefan Pro's Grow Your Network. Here today, we've got a wonderful, wonderful guest speaker. In fact, an ambassador for Shefan Pro as well, the lovely Dr. Jamilah Merrick. I'm so pleased to actually manage to have you on the call today, Dr. Jamilah, because I know how incredibly busy you are and all the great work that you're doing for so many wonderful people out there and for the space and everything else. You everywhere all at the same time, and it's quite amazing. So to have you here today is a great honor because I know just how precious time is for you, especially. Also, just to thank our audience as well that are here watching back on the recording, and to welcome Sumya here as well, our CMO at Shefan Pro. So over to you, Sumya, and please go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Shelle Fantastic. Weldon Wilkins once said that education is the mother of leadership. And that is the motto of Shefan Pro and Grow Your Networks program and event that we conduct every month. Today we have a wonderful guest speaker, Dr. Jamilah Merrick, who resonates with the same ideology. So that is the reason she's here today to teach us through her life experiences, through her presentations, and through everything, whatever. And she would like to share her knowledge and empower us and make us strong. So, in short, Dr. Jamilah Merrick is a social entrepreneur. She's a serial social entrepreneur, not just a social entrepreneur, because she's not in just one segment, she's in multiple segments doing so many wonderful things across the globe. And Miss Dr. Jamilah Merrick, she's founder of Ethose, co-founder of Empowered Women Collective. She recently participated in NFT Alliance, where she provides free consulting services to the community on every Saturdays. And she has much more in her basket. So I think she's doing such a wonderful job in bringing such positive change and contributing from her end to bring that change in this world. So now let us all welcome Dr. Jamilah Merrick. So yes, Dr. Jamilah Merrick, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Sumya. What a beautiful introduction. I really always appreciate your enthusiasm, your heart for the community. I'm so very, very thankful for Shefan Pro, for Shelle, my dear friend, who is just incredible in this space, has become not only a dear friend, but a business partner. And so we're just so grateful for this community. Shelle, Sumya, doing so much to equip and empower the Web3 community and to provide really practical tools, right, for everyday people who want to come, who want to utilize this ecosystem, who want to build great products and services. So we have to tip our hat to your whole community, to you as the founding team. You know, you're doing so much. And I really just love spaces like this where we can collectively come together and learn and grow together and really begin to, network and say, hey, what do you know that I don't know? Or how can I leverage some of the experiences that you have? Or just how can I support? And so thank you so much for this platform, for all that you all do. And I'm just so very happy to be here with you all today. So, I think one of the things that I think about in terms of, just the landscape of Web3, even of our global economy of things, you think about volatility. Some of the words that come to mind are volatility, right? And then also resiliency, right? Because the people who are still here building are really here for the right things. You have to have a certain kind of backbone to still be building in this real volatile market in Web3. So it is still even a little volatile, obviously, in Web2. We have high inflation. I think I just read something about, no, I heard at the conference, I think, is it UK is at 16% inflation? I said, we're dealing with single digit. And I said, they're doing with double digit. Oh my goodness gracious. So, the volatility is there, right? The excuses that we can have to be an entrepreneur or not be an entrepreneur are very valid, right? It's very hard, and when I talk about food on the table, gas in the car, that's where a lot of people are today in terms of the economy of things. How do I just survive? So then you talk about entrepreneurship and you talk about more money going out than than's coming in. You have risk to reward, you have your return on your investment. And at the end of the day, it's not for everyone. So I think number one, people need to understand that there is a risk associated with entrepreneurship. There is actually also a big reward that can be associated with entrepreneurship, but it's not for everyone, and that's okay. Some of us are in the preparation stage, right? So keep going to your conferences, keep watching those TEDx's, keep learning on YouTube, keep networking, keep doing the things that are helping you grow professionally. Keep getting, go back to school if that's what you're called to do, or get that certificate or what have you. Keep upskilling as we are building in this market. Don't stop doing that, because that's going to prepare you for the next phase, the next evolution of your entrepreneurship journey. So my entrepreneurship journey actually started over 7 years ago when I joined the startup school with YC Combinator. And if you don't know YC Combinator, it's one of the top accelerators in the world. So some of the biggest companies have come through that accelerator, DoorDash, Airbnb, Coinbase, to name a few. And so, big companies that are really disrupting markets have come through that accelerator. And I remember saying, I wanted to be a part of learning the best principles and practices that are currently happening in tech. And so I joined the startup school. It's free. You can go to YC Startup School, I believe it's .org or startupschool.org, and register. And I remember just learning lean startup and learning what these technology companies, the biggest Fortune 500 companies, are doing to grow and scale their companies. And I initially started designing my own smartwatch. So that I just started designing my own smartwatch back in about 2014. And I remember knowing I was not a technical founder, but I was in a technical space. And I caught the eye of a guy who had created the smallest smartphone in the world. And he wanted to join as my CTO. And now he's one of Forbes 30 under 30. And I said, wow, just by presenting my idea, being passionate about my idea, being in the right network to be able to share that idea, I was able to, secure a CTO who was very well recognized in like the Google community and a lot of the tech community. And I was like, wow, this is going to be great, right? I was like, I'm getting in the tech space. I had something that someone validated and said, this is going to be a great product for market. And then I had a real tragedy in my house with my father passing away. And so I kind of put that my business down, and I said, okay, it wasn't the right time. I had to do a lot of things for his estate, and I just couldn't handle both at the same time. And I was a little bit, it kind of had that feeling of failure, right? I think all of us founders go through that. We put so much expectation on ourselves to be the best, and maybe we're perfectionists. Maybe, we have all of these things that we bring into entrepreneurship where we still have to deal with our everyday life, right? You don't just become an entrepreneur and then you don't have to pay the bills and change the diapers and get the groceries. Like, real life goes on even in entrepreneurship. And so I told myself, okay, I'm gonna put that away for just now. And it almost felt like a grief, right? A loss. Like you're just like, oh, I was so invested in that opportunity. But then when I finished my doctorate degree, I spent 3 years at the doctoral level as a semiotician, as a futurist, studying cultural shifts, studying contextualizing, a lot of the changes that we're seeing economically, socially, and how you make social impact. And when I joined a crypto academy, I said, aha, there's the future of technology. There's the future of solving a lot of the existential threats that we have in our society in terms of poverty, right? Inequality, so many things, education. I said, blockchain can really be a component of driving change in the market. really good change and sustainable change. And so I got in as an NFT holder. I became part of a collective called Ethereal Collective. And my little pass, my little NFT, where some people are like, what is that? Should I do that? Well, my little NFT was allowed my husband and my husband and I had created this art piece. Well, he created an art piece and I was promoting it through this collective, and it was able to be shared with World of Women and Doge Pound Studio in the UK at a virtual gallery because I held that NFT. And I said, wow, that's access. That's really breaking down barriers. No one knows us from Adam, but we were showcased with the top people in Web3 because we are part of this community. And so that really got me thinking of how to equip and empower people to understand the technology, how they could become creators, how they could become holders, but also how they could become entrepreneurs. And I remember I was in those Discords, right? I don't know if any of your viewers are in Discord, but it's a whole new experience. And I thought, oh, that's just for the gamers, right? And they were like, no, you got to join Discord to be a part of the community. And so I opened up a Discord. I, tried to do all the different things, connect your wallet so they could verify you have this you have this NFT in your wallet. And, that was a learning curve. But I just remember meeting so many great people. Some of the top artists in the world were in those communities. And we started iterating, saying, how can we help entrepreneurs? And so lo and behold, one of the moderators that was working with Ethereal Collective at that time, we started thinking about how we can empower entrepreneurs, how we can empower women, how we could create the next products and services in Web3. And so we started forming a company called Ethose. So I founded Ethose on the premise of equipping and empowering people in Web3. And it still started as a seed, an idea. And we kept iterating. We brought on some other team members. And, it was all about organically, how can we really be the best light in Web3. And we started as an accelerator. The accelerator was to be a place where people could come and get resources. They can get business consulting from me. They can get connected with other business service providers like Shelle with Shefan Pro. And we said, let's just organically develop an ecosystem where people can come in and be taken care of in their entrepreneurial journey. And I did that, number one, because I had been rugged. Now, if you don't know the word rugged, just think of a rug burn. It hurts, right? So we get some injuries in Web3 called being rugged. There's a lot of people, unfortunately, with new technology, with anything, they can try to exploit you. And I remember us losing about $4,000 from being, quote, rugged. And I said, that was a terrible experience. And we don't want people coming into this technology thinking it's scammy, it's not safe. And so we really wanted our accelerator to be that safe place for people to get the right business service providers, to get the right information, to get the right teams to work with so that they could build their products and services. And so I was just coming out of working in a private group with YC Combinator over the summer. And I remember thinking, wow, this is great. I'm working really closely with some of the top founders in the world, top executives in the world. I just felt really honored to have that experience. And so my first clients came from YC. And I remember we had the top, YC has an incredible pedigree of people that they work with. And they migrated over. And I remember thinking, okay, we're going to get them funding. We had access to about, at that point, 300 venture capitalists. Now we have access to over 3,000. But I remember at that time, I said, okay, we're going to roll up our sleeves. We're going to get them funding. We had all of, we felt all of our ducks in a row. I remember we, pitch deck after pitch deck, sending our pitch decks through to our business partner. And we pre-qualified, about $27 million for our initial batch of people, where they kind of checked the box and they were moving to the next phase of hopefully getting funding. And at the end of the day, none of them got funding. And I said, these are the top entrepreneurs in the world that I was working with. If they can't get funding, it didn't resonate with me that was the future of Web3 that we were wanting to build. And so I went back to the drawing board and I said, we have to do something different. It has to be more than just an accelerator, more than just getting them funding. It needs to be an ecosystem where they can build and they can network and they can scale their products and services and they can get marketing. And so we pivoted to a Web3 marketplace and Launchpad. And so we did that, number one, because of the failure to get them funding. I said, it's not just funding that they need. They need to have different systems in place where they can be a little bit more autonomous. They can get not only funding, but maybe they can get access to a network. They can meet new founders. They can get grants. They can get the tools they need to brand themselves in a way that gives them a better go-to-market strategy. And so our Web3 marketplace is there to help them build and launch and scale their products and services. We'll be giving access to IRL events where they can meet investors, they can meet new founders, they can do demo days. We'll have our digital membership where they can get access to those events, right? We'll also have the ability for them to, on the platform, get in touch with our business service providers. So they'll have a dashboard, they'll have a login, they have a password. All they do is look at all of our network of business service providers, get a quote, and then all of that exchange happens right on the platform. And even the transaction of them purchasing the products or services happens there on the platform. And so we really wanted to create a real environment, almost like an Amazon meets like an accelerator, so that we could really mobilize them a lot quicker. And so at the end of the day, now we have access to over 3,000 investors with Shelle, with Shefan Pro, and then also my other network of developers. We have access to over 42,000 full stack developers now. And so that really, I think, creates an energy for, I think, people to come in and say, wow, whatever I need on my spectrum, right, of entrepreneurship, because it's a spectrum. Some people are over here and some people are over there and some people are in the middle. I can get access to those. But the other thing that we really want to be sensitive to is how to build. So that was just a little journey of, and how did I do on time? I think I did okay, but maybe it was a little winded. What we want to do is be sensitive is to the fact that, okay, we can give you services, we can give you access, we can give you network, but we also want to teach you how to build. And so part of the model that we have on the platform is not only will they get access to funding, but they'll get access to our kind of modules that will teach them how to do a pitch deck, how to understand lean startup, right? How to understand negotiations, how to understand a term sheet, how to understand a cap table, things like that, so that when they're coming in, they're really being prepared to be successful on their entrepreneurial journey, and they can have those downloaded kind of modules to get access to the information they need to really grow and scale. So I wanted to share with you all today just a little bit of lean, because I do think that, so you've heard a little bit of my story, but the story really is premised on lean startup. Like, how do you create great products and services? How do you generate new ideas that are fit for the market? Because at the end of the day, you're solving a problem. You're not in search for a problem, but you're solving a problem. And that problem needs to be big enough to be sustainable enough. So one of the deficiencies I see in some of founders is they have great ideas and they're very passionate about their ideas, but they're not necessarily understanding the sentiment of the market. They don't understand how that idea fits into now. It may be later, maybe in 10 years, but at the end of the day, we're not here to create hobbies, right? We need to have cash flow. We need to have revenue. We need to understand how to acquire new users, right? We need to have a business plan that has a growth strategy that's sustainable. Because at the end of the day, unless you have been given a silver fork in your mouth, is that the term? Silver spoon, sorry, not a fork, it's a spoon. Forgive me on the utensil. Unless you be giving a silver spoon in your mouth, your money and your time is going to be very valuable. And you're going to want to understand how to build with the least amount of friction. And so some of that friction might come with the amount of time it is to get your product to development, right? To develop your MVP, which we call the minimal viable product. The other thing might be friction is just the money, right? Do you want to spend $10,000 or do you want to spend $100,000? That's a big difference in terms of expenditures. The other friction is, do you want to do it yourself? Or do you want to have a team to help you delegate and kind of redistribute some of that demand, because it takes a lot of time, especially if you have children, or if you're still working another 40-hour week with your traditional job and then trying to run your startup. How sustainable is that for you? So there's a lot of decisions you have to make as a founder, and there's a lot of responsibilities that you have to take on. And so one of the things that we want to do for entrepreneurs is de-risk a little bit of that friction, give you models that will help you be successful, and really help you leverage your time, and also hopefully increase your success rate. We know that out of 9 out of 10 startups are going to fail. So when you think about 9 out of 10, you have to understand that the success rate is very low. So the success rate, you already need to think about coming into entrepreneurship that you are climbing a mountain, right? You are climbing a mountain. This is not a breeze. This is not a walk in the park. This is David meets Goliath, and your Goliath is that market. Your Goliath is your consumer, who you have to convince to come and buy from you. And you have to have the strategy to do that, the team to do that, the infrastructure to do that. So we want to learn a little bit about lean today, and not get you too far off in the weeds, because lean is a technical way to build a company, but I want to stay more practical on what the everyday person can do to start to use the lean startup methodology. So I'm going to share my screen, and I know Sumia said PowerPoint, and I said PPT. Is that PowerPoint? She texted me. I said I was a little tired yesterday, so thank you, Sumia, for encouraging me to use my PowerPoint here. So actually, let me move that over. Okay. So hopefully everyone can see that. Okay, good. Yep. Okay. So I shared this with another company, and I just modified it a little bit today. But what we want to talk about is problem, solution, and validation. And so number one, when you're talking about lean startup or just running a business in general, you want to think about the problem. So much we're so excited about the solution, right? Oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. We're going to, do that, and some pancake swap in a D app that no one's going to go to, So you have to really be thinking about, what is the need of my consumer, right? What's the need? Now, if I was just throwing out there a general problem, is that people don't like working from home, right? Let's just say that. Let's say people are missing out on community. They don't like working from home. They really want a better way to connect their employees with their departments, because maybe still some companies are working from home, but they're missing out on that quality production because of the constraints of telecommute. Let's just say that's just a problem we're trying to solve. Well, is that problem big enough? Is there enough people in the market that are working from home, that are not working with their teams collaboratively, physically? And are they willing to pay in the market for your solution? Well, I would say yes, right? There's a lot of people still working from home. COVID still has had a lot of residual effects in terms of how we are working in our offices. So I'd say that problem is still big enough, right? That problem is still big enough. Now, let's just take something ridiculous, right? Let's just take something ridiculous. Let's say you love kayaking, but you think kayaking should have some type of, I don't know, uh, 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 new type of rudder on it that makes it do some type of new tricks in the water. Okay. Now, just think about that. How many people are canoeing and they want to do something different with their canoe, and it makes them spin around and do something funny in the water, right? I'm just trying to be ridiculous. You have, because I've heard a lot of ridiculous things in my life, and I'm thinking, have you talked to anyone about your problem, this problem or solution, right? So when we think about it, you're like, I don't think I know of anyone who's canoeing and wants to utilize that functionality that way. So I'm just being very ridiculous right now. So you say to yourself, okay, maybe cool solution for me, not a big enough problem for the market, right? So one thing you really want to think about is your problem. Number one, is it big enough? And so when we're doing our research and analysis, and just think about it in terms of, I need to investigate this problem. I need to see if it's big enough. You're going to look at the total addressable market. So I actually should have had that in the slide, but the total addressable market, you're going to look at and say, how big is this market, right? The metaverse alone is going to be worth 13 trillion by 2030 globally. 13 trillion, right? That's more than most countries have in terms of their GDP. We're talking about one segment in Web3 is going to be worth 13 trillion. That's a huge market. If your company is not currently preparing of how to understand and leverage the metaverse, you're going to be behind the curve, right? Because it's going to be as easy, it's going to be as standard as a web browser metaverse by 2030. So you're going to really need to understand that. So, when we think about total addressable market, very, very important. Then you think about the observable market. You say, okay, well, are we going to go after every market? When we think about a problem, now we need to localize that problem. So when you think about problem, you say, okay, my total addressable market for the metaverse is going to be 13 trillion, but that's globally. Maybe you live in the UK, maybe you live in India. I live in Silicon Valley. Other people live in like Idaho, right? Or Mississippi or Georgia or what have you. Now you're thinking about, okay, well, am I going to go after all the market? No, right? We don't say, okay, I'm going to create a strategy to reach, Asia and UK and all of Europe and North America and South America, right? You're just going to be too constrained in 1 year to start to reach that many different markets at one time. So you say you pick one, like one or two. Say I'm going to go after North America. Okay, well, maybe that market is only going to be currently valued at 25 billion, let's just say, because I think it's more than that. Then you say, okay, that's my observable market. Okay, that's the problem. That's how big my problem is in North America. But are you going to get all of that market? Well, you have competitors, right? You have competitors who are already in that market. So you say, I'm going to go after 10%. Well, 10% of 25 billion is 2.5 billion. So that is the number that you are trying to hit. That is your problem in terms of the market you're trying to reach. So that's really important to know your serviceable market, right? That's the market you're serving. You're serving 2.5 billion out of 13 trillion, right? And that makes it a little bit more like, okay, I don't have to try to solve everyone's problem. I'm solving the problem for 2.5 billion market share, right? That's the market you're going after. And then the solution really is to get to the solution. Let me go here, is we need to strategize. We need to strategize, people. So it's really a science when you're talking about finding product market fit. It has to do with knowing your customer. You really just need to understand who your customer is. So in Lean Startup, they talk a lot about beta testing, right? So say, for example, you have an idea. And you say, okay, there's not enough people in our workplace, in the physical workplace, our production quality is going down. We need to find a new way for us, even to be hybrid, telecommute and, working in the office, how we can create more productivity, right? So now you need to know who's your target audience. Who's your target audience is your employees, right? Because they're the ones that's going to buy. they're the ones that are going to buy into your product. So you're going to talk to people then who work from home. That's your initial customer. So really very, very important is to strategize. You got to develop a strategy of who you're going to actually talk to in your beta testing. Then you've got to interview them. Now, the best way for when you're doing lean startup is you don't want to superimpose your assumptions. You're going to be like, you don't like working from home, right? That's a closed question, right? You're already assuming they don't want to work from home, and you're not giving them the opportunity to express themselves. You want to be very neutral when you're doing lean because you want organic feedback. You want people to push back against your assumptions, right? Because at the end of the day, you are validating or invalidating your truth, right? Your idea of how you're solving a problem is an assumption. And that assumption now needs to be validated, right? Because many people have great ideas and then they build something really expensive, but they never got the feedback to see if that was the actual problem they were solving and also the right solution for the problem. So those interviews are going to be so important to know if you should pivot or prevail. And so you'll hear that in lean. Should I pivot? Should I make a little change, a little alteration to what I'm currently doing in my strategy? Or should I prevail? Should I go forward? Should I do more? Right? Should I go down, should I go right? Should I go left? Right? And so those interviews are going to give you that feedback. And that feedback is so, so very important for you to hear in a neutral, unbiased way what your customer wants. What's their pain point? What is their need? So you ask open-ended questions. So one way to ask an open-ended question for someone, a customer or who's working in an environment where they're working from home would be to say, what's your experience been like working from home? Aha, they're gonna say, oh my gosh, I hate it. My baby's running around with half a diaper on. I can't even get on my Zoom calls. I have to go off camera, so I can't really see my team. We can't connect because, I'm trying to juggle this and juggle that. And sometimes my husband's home and sometimes he's not. And I get so frustrated because I can't manage my time and I got to do the laundry and then take care of the baby and then try to, make a business phone call. And you're like, wow, okay. You're going to get that feedback because they have that room to answer you very authentically. And then you're taking those notes down, and I'll show you after this one a spreadsheet of how to do this. But so then you're going to go into that discovery phase, right? You're going to get insights from these interviews, and you don't want to just do one. So that's right. If any sample with any amount of credibility, you need to have a sum total, right? So you need to have, ask at least like 10 or like 20 and do it again, right? And you want to set a time frame. So you're saying within 2 to 3 weeks, I'm getting an MVP up. I'm testing it, right? And it doesn't have to be, $100,000 worth of dev work. One thing I want to tell your users is there's a way to create a mock-up on what we call wireframe. So there's a company called Figma. If you go to like figma.com, you can create wireframes. Say, for example, you're building an app. You can create what the app would look like on Figma and have people experience that app on Figma and give you feedback. And you don't have to build the app. You can build the frame for the app and test those features just as if they were built themselves. So there's things that you can do in developing your MVP where you don't have to go and build the actual physical product. Build the idea conceptually first that they can test, then build the physical product. Okay, so don't build the physical product and have them test it, and then they don't like it. Then you got to spend 10, 20, 50, $100,000 to redo it. Build the concept, like on a Figma, on a wireframe. Test that because that's the easiest thing you can build to have it built, conceptually. You can do that within 2 to 3 weeks. Then go out and get feedback on that. Then use that feedback to actually build the physical product. Okay, so that's what we do in lean, right? We test, we validate, we invalidate, we pivot, we prevail, then we build and scale. It's that fast. Those iterations are very, very fast, and then you get that ability to get the product market fit. So when you're building your actual physical product, whether it's software, hardware, you are building with the customer validation that you need to know what you're building will be successful in the market. So we don't want to go on wishes. We don't want to go on assumptions. We want to go on validated proof of concepts. That's really important in terms of how we build. So one of the things I think circling back is you really need to understand your target customer. Now, if you are talking to people, say you're talking to, and I want to be careful so I don't make any assumptions here. Say you're talking to us, I don't want to use any ageism or any type of way that makes people feel funny, but say for example, you're talking to a target demographic that likes working from home, right? You need to make sure your sample has enough people of different backgrounds so that you can get the right feedback. Going back to our initial example I gave. So target customer is very important. Sometimes we're getting the wrong validation or invalidation because we're talking to the wrong customer. So you really need to do your research on who is your customer. If we're talking about Web3, it's millennials and Gen Z. Boomers, Gen X, those are not the people buying Web3 products and services. So if you're talking about building an app or building a service, you're really going to want to understand the millennial and Gen Z market. Millennials particularly are the ones that are buying the most crypto, that are in the DeFi, that are in the metaverse. Gen Z actually a little lower than the millennials. I would think they would have been more. But the millennials are the main adopters. So when you think about who you are talking to, if you're talking to people who are boomers, maybe they like your product, but that's not your target customer, right? You're always going to go with your lowest hanging fruit, the people who are already either interested in your product or already using something similar to your product. So when you talk about building an MVP, you really want to think about what we call like the lowest hanging fruit, right? You don't want to, those initial adopters are not people you need to convince, right? Like, that person that you're still trying to convince to open up a MetaMask, that is not your initial group of people who are going to be your early adopters, right? Especially if we're dealing with Web3 products and services. This can apply to, and let me just preface, this can apply to any service. Lean it doesn't have to be Web3. You can be in pharma. You want to open a cab company. You still can use lean, okay? So just prefacing that it's very versatile. But in this particular instance, we're talking about we gave an example of people working from home. So target customer is very important. And then also, as you're building, you're going to understand more about your customer, more about their needs, more how to position the solution for their needs appropriately. And that's going to give you the strategy of how to create a business model. Now, you may have heard, actually, that was supposed to say B2B. I said B2C. You may have heard some different terminologies like D2C, that's direct to consumer, right? So there's a lot of people, they say, I'm not going to try to figure out like how to get my stuff into Target and Walmart and all these big box stores. I'm just going to create a website. They're going to be able to order from the website. We ship it right to the consumer. That's direct to consumer, right? That's a very traditional, a more kind of e-commerce, modern approach to doing business. It reduces some of the friction and a lot of the overhead costs of have to get a whole bunch of stuff to make it into the market, into Target and Walmart and all these places. So direct to consumer is like one business model. Another one is, I meant to say, sorry, ladies, B2B. As B2B, right? So maybe you work with other businesses, other enterprises, right? Shelle and I with our businesses, we do a lot of B2B. We have a lot of business providers that we work for, and we onboard them. For me, I do third-party agreements, and we sign an agreement and they come on as a business service provider. And so that's how we also grow our business. Another one is like, for example, which is actually like a subset within, it could be a subset within B2B or D2C, which is subscription. You say, okay, well, now to get my software, to get my hardware, you're going to subscribe to an annual, a monthly, or what have you, fee, right? And so you also have to, as you're growing your business, as you're getting that feedback from your users, you're creating a model for how to make money, right? So the money aspect is very, very important, because I see so many people, great idea, great enthusiasm, even maybe they've created, I don't like the word white paper, but I'm going to call it a human paper. They've created a roadmap of how to, successfully leverage their technology and what it does and where it goes and how it works and so forth, but they don't know how to make money. So that's very, very important. At the end of the day, this is a business. This is a business. Your time is valuable. Your family's time is valuable. You're taking a lot of time to do this. So you have to be very focused on how you're going to make money. Because at the end of the day, even if you have a product that's validated and you have a team, if you don't have a business strategy of how to make money, then it's still just like it's a pipe dream, really, right? It's not realized. So people really need to look at, okay, if I have a problem and I found the solution, now how do I make money? Okay, please. And you don't have to feel bad. I remember one lady I heard in Web3, and we'll call them Web3 natives, because Web3 natives are very passionate about Web3. I told them I was going to do subscription. She goes, I don't believe in that. I don't believe creators should pay. And something said to me, well, she doesn't understand business then. Because at the end of the day, you have to make money. Are we doing a charity? I can't help creators get through the layers of entrepreneurship and networking if I don't have the money to give them the tools they need to be successful. So it really needs to be circular. I don't want people to buy into this concept in Web3 that we're just here for the creators and everything's free and it's community. We have fundamental things we still have to do to be successful in business. And one of that is to make money. Never feel like you're compromising ethics to make money. Just make sure you deliver on your promise. Make sure your price is fair. Make sure you're actually giving a service to people that they want and you're delivering on that. And the rest is really history. So I don't want to hear anyone telling you, you just give your stuff away for free. That's not business. There may be a portion that is free or is a trial or something that you're doing to get that initial phase of enthusiasm for your product. But at the end of the day, you have to make money. So I'm just going to also pull up here real quick a rubric here for how we run sprints. So we call them sprints in Lean Startup. And it starts with, right, knowing your customer. So for example, say you're going to test in the market this idea. And I'll just run through it really quick because I see our time is running. I've been jabbing a lot. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. So I hope everyone got something out of it today. Say, for example, you're going to know your customer. You're going to go millennials. Millennials. Did I spell that right? Millennials working from home. So that's your initial cut. And you're going to say they have low productivity. Okay, that's the first thing you're testing is they have low productivity from working from home. That's your assumption that you're trying to test, right? So your first one is when you're going out there, your first sprint, you're just trying to know your customer and you're trying to understand their problem, right? You're testing that. So you're asking open-ended questions like, how do you like working from home? Are there any thing you wish could be different working from home? How is your quality of work working from home? Everything's open-ended. You're neutral. You're just getting the feedback. Okay, then you go next and you say, wow, it's not really just millennials working from home. It was the women, millennials, working from home. that had the most problems in your feedback, right? And you said, oh, it's women with children working from home. Your new problem assumption is not only they have low productivity, but it's women millennials working from home who have children that have low productivity. You see that? Your validation, it's happening in that first round of interviews. And second, now you've refined because now you understand a little bit more about what they need to do. And so say, for example, the easiest thing is that they're asking for, so now we move to solution, right? Because we've got more feedback. You don't want to go to solution your first round of interviews because you want that neutral base of just getting that initial feedback. Now you say, okay, well, maybe my first solution is that there is a the employer, there's employer program for daycare subsidiary. Maybe they give you a certain amount of money so that you can, there's a employee wellness program for mothers to be able to take their children at certain points of the week for daycare paid by the company. Wouldn't that be great? That's one problem one solution for the problem, right? And you say the list of assumptions are, what's my riskiest assumption? My assumption is that parents will use daycares for their children. My other riskiest assumption is, which is sad, is, I don't know, I'm trying to make sure you can see this. Oops. Employers will pay for it. I'm making two assumptions there. It's number one, that's awful. Number one, parents will use daycares for their children, and if they had the option to, and the other one is the employers will pay for it. So let's go down here. So then you're going to say, okay, what are my methods? What are the things that need to be true, right, for this to happen, right? Well, it needs to be true that the employer will pay for it, and it needs to be true that parents will use it, and it needs also to be true that there's daycares available for the parents to use, right? There's a lot of methods that need to be there for success. So do you see how powerful this tool can be? You're going there, you're doing initial sprint. We call it a sprint. Go out there, ask 20 people, find 20 users that are your target customer, please, your target customer. Get the initial proof of concept, get the initial validation, run another sprint, refine it, and then look how many you can do, up to 6, 7, 5. You can continue to going, but what you want to do is start to see, within 5, you should see a proof of concept. You should see something validated in the market. So I just want you all to know, like, lean startup, it's very, very practical. It's very, very easy to do once you understand the right questions you need to ask, but it's essential for your survival as an entrepreneur. What we are doing in entrepreneurship is solving problems. We're not searching for them. And we want those problems to be big enough. And we want them to be validated, because at the end of the day, you're building something that delights the customer and that they will love. So build with them in mind and build with their feedback in mind. And when you do, you will be working with the best principles and practices that all of the Fortune 500 company use to scale their companies to be relevant in the market. And you will find that risk to reward, I think, to be much more on the reward side than the risk side. And we want you all, as we say, to be successful. So keep building with success in mind. And thank you so much, Shelle and Soumya, for having me today. I hope everyone got something a little bit out of this short discussion today, but it was an honor and a pleasure. And I'm just very thankful for this opportunity.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Jamilah. That was absolutely amazing. Our audience will absolutely love that. I know I did. And thank you so much. And I'm really looking forward to doing some more close working with you as well, in what we discussed prior to this call today. I think that's going to be absolutely amazing. Soumya, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Jamilah Merrick. That's such a wonderful seminar. As usual, you're fabulous. And whatever you said, every statement made sense, and I think it's useful for us because that's what we always need. So you always come up with ideas and topics which are always helpful to us. So thank you for that. And the PPT was excellent, and more than that, your life experience and journey, it's a learning lesson for us. And we're actually inspired and electrified by whatever you've said, because coming and starting such a huge incubator program, that's no joke. And I mean, so that's something, I think we should learn from you, and you should mentor us in this regard in future. And thank you a lot for telling us so many things in a very simplified and friendly and jovial manner. We didn't feel that it's like it's a pressure of sitting in a classroom. We felt okay, a friend is telling us, and it's going inside so well, because you've related it so well to work from home situation and employees, which is actually the current scenario. And thank you for explaining that every entrepreneur has both a risk and a reward. So that's what we need to recognize. And also clarifying that, it should not just remain as a dream, or the on if you want to if you want to start something, it should not remain as just a dream or some idea, but it should actually come into existence. And for that, the finance is needed, because if you're not doing it, then at the end of the day, it just becomes a hobby. You use the word hobby, and that I really liked it, because it's exactly what you said. I was thinking, yes, we never thought in this manner. Obviously, if we are running a business and we're not making anything, then at the end of the day, if people ask us, maybe after 2-3 years, what are you doing? I'm just doing a hobby. So, that's something, that's something really great that you've said. And you also encouraged us to keep upskilling, either by joining school or by learning from YouTube or whichever medium which is available, and wherever we can learn. If you're passionate, it's better you learn and acquire the skills and grow. And you also, and really, that YC Combinator, when you said that you were honored to work with so many people, and when you said initially, even for the top entrepreneurs, the funding was difficult, and later when you said 9 to 10 startups fail, because of so many issues, and funding is also one of the issues. And I felt, then Dr. Jamia Merrick, she is an excellent lady in this aspect, because she's got so much of experience, and she's got so much of input in convincing the investors and everybody. So if at all we are doing some investor program, the first person we should invite should be Dr. Jamilah Merrick, because who else can we invite, because she's got all that input. And regarding you said so many things, like how you started from 300 to how you reached to 3,000 venture capitalists and everything. That's a huge number. So that everybody keeps struggling. And you also told about this lean startup strategy, in strategize, interview, and discover. So where you've told that this we always come up with an assumption or a hypothesis. So always remember, whatever your idea initially is an assumption and a hypothesis, but then you need validation. And you told us how to get feedback, explained it with the work from home scenario. And similarly, how interviews really help. And thank you for telling about the Figma as well. And there are so many different areas or different things available where we can try, and later on we can have the real product. Initially we can create it, do the market research, and then when we are convinced that this is going to work out, then we can build the real product, instead of directly building the product and then testing in the market. Because if you build and it doesn't work in the market, then it makes no sense. And you've always been telling that, thank you a lot, because this is really important, especially the way you explained about the market research, how we should do, what we should do, and especially the rubric, how you've showed, you explained, you connected the dots. Now, first step, then next step, then what to do, and it's not the end. Again, you need to make assumptions, and again, you need to validate. So you said it's a continuous process, and this is something very important for market research, because maybe imagine I'm creating some kind of a pen, and then we know the story where in space people created an anti-gravity pen, after a lot of research, but later the Russians, they thought pencil is enough, because that is simple and we can use it. So
Yeah.
the product, but then we try to come up with an idea, thinking that this is a great idea, and then later on we realize, it's not everybody who needs it. And especially the target audience, we need to be very clear. And thank
Oh, you just popped onto mute there, Sumia. Sumia, you're just gonna, oh, there you are. You're on mute, darling.
Oh,
Oh, let me see.
Oh,
Oh,
thank you a lot. Thank you for being present here, because I can say that every second and every word that you've spelled is valuable to us. And thank you a lot. And it's a great learning experience.
thank you.
oh.
Thank you, Sumia. Thank you, Dr. Jamilah Merrick. Wow. And, I'm just looking forward to seeing you back here again as our guest speaker in the future here at Shefan Pro, because, you should just be, she's just like a celebrity, isn't she? She just should like be on the TV or something as a presenter, because you're just like a movie star or something. You're just amazing. You're just captivating, and everything that you share is done in such a way that resonates and is understanding and makes sense. And for me, that makes you an excellent teacher as well.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, it's such an honor. I can't tell you how thankful I am for Shefan Pro, for you, Shelle, for you, Sumya. I feel your heart. I feel your compassion, your love for community, for this technology, but for people. You love people. And so we're just so thankful for your community. It was such an honor to present again. And I love this network effect that we have. So I can't wait to continue to keep growing, continuing to be your ambassador. Know that Ethose is here for you. I meant to say, Sumi, I am running 5 companies. So what the time is, that's not including our co-founding work with Empowered Women Collective. So that's actually 6. But it's not about the number, it's about the impact, right?
Yeah.
Because what we are doing collectively is trying to do something that I think that has never been done. So thank you that all of the work you do, and also the work in empowering women. I hope every woman and man who have watched this today come away thinking, I can do that. And even if you're not ready, you walk away saying, I am going to get myself in a position to be there. So it's so humbling to be here. Thank you so much for the time. Thank you for all the validation you give me as a woman of color, as an entrepreneur. You all have sowed so many good seeds to me as well. So I look forward to continuing our journey. And thank you everyone for this call. It was just fantastic being here today.
Fabulous. Thank you. And all that's left to be said is thank you to all of you that are watching back on this recording. Thank you to our star guest, Dr. Jamilah Merrick. Thank you to Sumia, our CMO. And, at Shefan Pro, we'll look forward to seeing you at the next call for another guest speaker. But in the meantime, you know where we are. Reach out to us. We're online. We're all on LinkedIn. We're everywhere. You know where we are. And also, please reach out to Dr. Jamilah Merrick, because if you feel that she can, you know, help you or assist you, or maybe you can do something for her. You know, remember we said it's a two-way thing. You know, we help each other, we support each other. Please do reach out to Dr. Jamilah Merrick as well. Just quickly, Dr. Jamilah, where can people find you? Where's the best place?
Yeah, so we can reach us at Ethose, Ethose, that E at the end, .xyz. Our new webpage will be launched soon here, and so I'll get you more information on the new destination for that. But they can go there now, and they can also reach me at info@ethose.xyz. And if they are very savvy, they can find us on Twitter at Ethose Labs on Twitter, and also at Ethose Labs on Instagram. So we're looking forward to it. Whether you want to DM us, whether you want to email us, you can also get in touch on our website and input your information, and we'll get your information into our database, and we'll give you a call.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, thank you, ladies. I've loved it today. It's been really, really informative. It's just always a pleasure. And really looking forward to seeing everybody again on our next call at Shefan Pro's Grow Your Network.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone. It was such a pleasure.